credit for the last 15 years and worked for an organization called Justine Peterson for a while. They're an SBA microlender, but the bigger thing they do is they have a program called Credit Building Nation, and they train professionals in different states and not-for-profits associated with the SBA and SBDCs, women's business centers, lenders in credit building. And really is almost a religion to them. I jokingly tell people that when I went to work there, they put you in the basement and they talk about credit building and drip water on your head until you're like, I believe, and then they let you out of the basement. So, but credit is very important. A lot of people don't realize how much their credit can affect their ability, one, to kind of make their dreams come true. You mentioned a home buyers program. If you're trying to buy a home, credit is important. If you're trying to start a business, credit is important. Or if you just want to save money, credit is important. So we're going to talk about today how you can move your credit score. And I'm kind of going to give you some of the best kept secrets of credit bureaus and how they determine your score and what's true and what's maybe a rumor and not so true. So the first thing I want to talk about is credit as an asset. The majority of people in the last couple years with COVID experienced some pretty, we all went through a lot of stuff in the last couple of years. A lot of things that did not help people's credit. Student loans are one of the best examples I can think of. If you had a student loan, you know that the government probably deferred your student loan for a while. But what you didn't realize is that every month that you're not paying on your student loan and the balance is staying here, your credit score is going down. Even though those programs are deferred, without your balance being reduced, one, it's taking an active line off your credit report. So there's not any activity for them to report on except your balance is the same, or if you're still accruing interest, it's getting higher, which is never good. They want to see your balance going the opposite way. And two, by having no movement there at all, that takes away from kind of the credit game. They like to see you with a certain number of lines, which we'll talk about moving. And if they're not moving, if it's not a positive, it's negative. So it's all an algorithm, a 0 or a 1. So a lot of folks, as we know, in the last couple of years, maybe they deferred payments on other things. So maybe there's more than one line. Maybe prices are increasing, people charging additional higher amounts on their credit card balances. All those things are not good for your credit. So how important is credit really? A good credit score can save you $250,000 of interest and fees on average through your lifetime. You may say, that sounds crazy, that can't be right, but this is an average, and kind of how it works is that if you have a lower credit score, you pay less money, obviously, but you are less prone to be sucked into like more predatory lending situations. So I'm going to give you an example of that. And I do want to say too that thinking, oh, well, you know, saving $250,000 in a lifetime by having a better credit score, I'm not going to actually see the $250,000, but you do, and that is equivalent to a $3 an hour raise if you break that down over the course of what an average adult works in their lifetime. So basically, by having a good credit score, you are giving yourself a raise at work. So here's how it works. If I go to buy a car and I have a not so good credit score, maybe I don't have a credit score at all, have what's called a thin file. But if I have a not so good score under 600, I'm going to have to probably go to a buy here, pay here place. Or we finance anyone. Everyone gets a car. And what happens then is they're going to charge me at a minimum probably a 25% interest rate. And that means each month I'm going to pay them a little under $300 a month, and this is on a $10,000 car on a 5-year term. So in the course of that 5-year loan, I'm going to pay over $7,500 in interest. Now, if I have a good credit score, I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to roll into equity or, one of the multiple Arvis, whoever you bank with, and you're going to get an interest rate of below 5%. And that's if you have around a 680 credit score or better. Now, not only do I only pay $1,300 in interest versus $7,600, that's a good chunk of change, right? But each month, I'm keeping an extra $100 in my pocket that I have to spend on other things. So you can see over time how this builds up. Your car insurance is affected by your credit score, the amount you pay for your cell phone deposits, the amount you pay for insurance, on other things. Again, just where you're able to borrow money is all affected by your credit score. So pulling it down can help you a lot. These transitions are really slow. Again, so just getting into those mainstream financing makes a big difference. Opportunities to purchase homes, start your own business, get higher education, and then anymore too, a lot of employers were looking at credit scores. Now I will say that this has also changed with COVID because we've had this flip-flop. Now we have more jobs than we have people, so employers are a little less picky because they need good people working for them. So typically, unless you're doing something like we do, consider, like I worked for the SBA, we look at your credit score before you can work for the SBA, because if you don't have a good credit score, you're probably not going to be able to tell someone else how to have a good credit score. So what do you need to do to know even what your credit score is? Well, you have a few options. Randy was telling me that through their program, you have the option to pull a credit score here at SBDC. You can contact us. We're going to pull credit reports tonight. If you want a free credit report with a score, we can help you with that. We will do soft pulls, so it's not going to show as an inquiry on your credit, and we'll talk about inquiries in a little bit. There's also a site called annualcreditreport.com. There are some other sites out there. Some have catchy jingles, run a lot of commercials. I would tell you that they are not free. There is a catch. So this is a secure site. A lot of people ask me about Credit Karma. Is that a safe site to use? I would say yes. Credit Karma is a great way for you to monitor what's going on in your credit. Like you get a notification if a new account's open, if you're late on a payment, if anything is happening that your credit is changing, you get notified. However, your Credit Karma score may be 700. And then when you go to the bank, your actual credit score, your FICO score, which is what lenders use, may be in the 600s. And you're like, what happened here? And the difference is that FICO, many moons ago, created this credit scoring system. And they patented it, and they made it only theirs. And so that's why no one else can get kind of the same score as a FICO score, because they don't want to sell their secrets and everybody use the same scoring, because then they don't make money. So your Credit Karma score may not always be the same as your real score, and that's a reason for you to check your actual report before you go talk to a lender. Once you see your report, creating a credit action plan is what we recommend. And we have those here tonight. We can help you with that as well. This is you sitting down saying, what's going on with my credit that's good and I want to keep doing? What's going on with my credit that's not working, that's pulling my score down? and what are my actual goals? Because we all know that if you don't set a target, it's really difficult to hit. So by thinking about where do I want to be 5 years from now, you can't simply say I would really love to own a house by next year and then just wait a year and think that the house is going to magically show up in your driveway. It doesn't work that way. So making that plan to get your assets, and then keeping on track with a personal budget, and as I mentioned, getting that timeline in place, because it's easy. Again, over the last 2 years, we've learned that time slips through our hands pretty quickly, and so setting goals is something super important. So what's making up your credit score? A lot of people will believe that inquiries are the biggest thing affecting their credit. In my career of lending, a lot of folks have told me my credit score is bad because my wife was shopping for a car and she went to 15 different places and they all pulled my credit, and that's why my credit's in the 500s. That is not correct. Actually, the maximum that inquiries can pull your credit score down is about 15 points. And you can shop as many as 12 to 15 locations within like a couple month period. So if you are looking for a car and you're looking for that best rate and they keep pulling your credit, it's only going to drop you 15 points at the maximum. And a lender can look at your credit report and see, oh yeah, these are all, these are very similar. They're in a time frame here, so we can tell that this is not someone that's consistently shopping for more dollars. So that's only a very small percent. What's really affecting your credit are 3 things. Your balance to limit ratio on your revolving accounts. So your credit limit may be $1,000, but you should never spend more than 30% and have more than 30% on that credit card at any given time. And it seriously hurts you. That's 30% of your score by having those high balances. Now that's like, why does it matter if I'm using my money? When lenders look at your credit report, if all of your cards are maxed, if all of your loans, you've taken out all these new loans, they're probably saying, "Ooh, did they win the lottery? Why, how are they going to pay? Now we've got all these accounts going. How are they going to pay for our money if they've already maxed out?" Obviously they're not able to make their existing payments, so it doesn't make sense to add a new payment on top of that. It's not a smart lending decision. So that's a big part of it. Second is your payment history. Not paying an account on time, one account. If it is a serious account like a mortgage, even student loans in some cases, things like that, that can drop your score as much as 100 points in a month. Now you'll recover, but that's a big drop. So paying on time is super important. And then having enough having enough lines, how long you've had those lines, those are really your other third. Credit bureaus, they are all about what have you done for me lately. So, and they really like long-term relationships over one-night stands. So if you have 20 cards that you've opened, and you've opened them all in the last few months, those are probably not active lines that are going to be making your score go up. They're going to be pushing that score down. Now, if you've had a credit card and you've ran it up to your 30% and you've paid it down, you've ran it up, you've paid it down, but you've had it for years, that card is going to be pushing your score up quickly. And then the mix of credit is that credit bureaus, lenders all want to see that you have the ability to handle an installation payment, which is or an installment payment, which is like a car payment or a mortgage, something that you are making the same amount payment each month, and your balance is here, and you're paying it down to 0. And they want to see you with revolving accounts, because then you're paying a different amount each month. You're having to kind of monitor how much you have on there, those types of things. So this is kind of the secret sauce of how they're scoring you. Okay. So if your score isn't so great, how do you make it better? Well, as we discussed, having a mix of accounts and then having 3 active lines is optimal. You can have more than 3 lines of active credit, but you have to show that you're able to manage that. So if you're not managing it well, you're going to have those really high balances, and that's going to put you in not such a great place. So people will say to us, how do I get better credit? My credit's bad, but nobody wants to give me any loan. So how do I get a new line to start that? We recommend, several banks offer, I mentioned Arvest here in town, I know they offer one, several other banks do as well, but secured credit cards. And the difference between a secured credit card and a prepaid card is that a prepaid card, I go to Walmart, I buy a Visa card, I put $300 on that, and I spend down from $300. A secured credit card, I take $300 that goes in a savings account at that bank, they issue me the card, and it has a 0 balance, and I charge something, and I pay it off. I charge something, I pay it off, and they're actually reporting on my credit bureau. The prepaid cards do not report to the credit bureaus, so they're doing you absolutely no good. Now, another common misconception, you will hear payday lenders and finance type companies that are kind of predatory say, oh yeah, we report to your credit. Well, they do report to your credit, but they don't report, it doesn't help your score in any way. And the reason is, on a payday loan, remember we talked about long-term relationships and one-night stands. Payday lenders are one-night stands. It's a 30-day loan. You have a 30-day loan and you make one payment, and you either make that payment or they show you making it and they roll money to the next month. So the most history that loan can give you is 1 month. And and 1 month means nothing in the credit world. So the other way they report is if you don't make your payment, which is bad. So there is no win in using a payday lender. Let's see. We also offer through NewGrowth Capital a credit building loan, and there are some other organizations that do this as well. Typically, it's going to be like a non-for-profit type of revolving loan fund. Some of the community banks offer this as well. So if you're someone with no credit at all, how do I get new credit? The credit building loan is a $500 loan. $300 of that loan goes to secure a secured credit card. And then the remainder of that fund comes to you. You make an on-time payment to us each month. You pay, or whatever company you're using for the credit building loan, and then you are making your secured credit card payment on time. So one $500 loan has created 2 active lines for you, and we've seen that move scores. We worked on a grant last year, worked with 26 individuals who moved their score in a year's time, 895 points. And a lot of those, we didn't even count the ones that were a no score and they moved up. We had 3 that moved up into 600 credit scores in a 6-month time frame. So it doesn't take very long of making those on-time payments to move your score. It is a lifetime commitment in keeping your credit good, but it doesn't take a lifetime to move your score. So those credit building loans, by creating those 2 lines, and you have an installment line and a revolving, so you have the mix, and then thinking about the secured credit card as a credit building card. So we encourage people, put 1 tank of gas. Well, that used to be 30%. $300, so maybe a half a tank of gas, and then go home and pay that off. But think of that card only as a credit building card. And don't ever use that card for anything that you don't have money to pay for already. I do want to mention too, the second bullet point, really important. When you're looking at your credit report, a lot of people will say, I have all this old debt and it is pulling down my score. One of my favorites is a guy told me, oh, I got a divorce 9 years ago and my wife just trashed my credit. Because you know, ladies, it's always our fault. A divorce 9 years ago is not going to be pulling down your credit score today. Because what happens is debt hits your credit like an asteroid. There's all kinds of dust, things fly, oh my gosh, people are panicked, and it drops your score. But if you leave that debt alone, and I know what I'm saying sounds crazy to you, if you leave that debt alone, then the dust will settle. The good things you're doing, paying, having those 3 lines, paying them on time, and keeping your credit balances low, actually count more, they weigh more than the negative debt affects you. So if you're doing all the good things right, even if you do, a lot of small business owners, a lot of folks now are struggling because they don't have health insurance. And so maybe you get hit with a medical bill that goes to collections. If that happens, it's not the end of the world. You can recover from that. Now, I'm going to talk in a couple of slides about paying off debt, and we'll work on it. Okay, so I guess I'm talking about it right now. So you get your credit report, and first thing I want you to do is look at it and make sure that everything on there is yours. Now there are people you can pay that will fix your credit, or they do credit repair. What we do is not credit repair, we do credit building. So with the credit repair, a lot of times they go in and they dispute anything negative on your credit report. Now, if I'm a lender and I'm looking at your credit report and you've disputed even one item, next to that item it says, item disputed by consumer, or consumer disagrees, disputed. Now, if you are a lender and you're looking at someone's credit report and you see every single item that's a negative has been disputed, what do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Unfair headache.
Yeah, they're not going to pay you. They didn't want to pay anyone else. Why would they pay you? So not only do people not realize that they can fix their own credit for free, but by going to those credit fix, credit repair, actually hurting your credit report, that disputed amount that disputed by customer never goes off. As long as that item is on your credit report, the lender can see that. So it's really a negative. But you look at your report and there actually is something on there that's not yours. And it happens a lot because humans put items into your credit report. They get on their laptop and they enter the information and it goes to the credit bureaus. So guess what? We have the human error as a part of that. And that's also maybe when you look at your credit report, you see they have 14 addresses and they're all pretty close to yours, but maybe they're a little bit different, or the spelling of your name. That's all human error. So if there's something on there that's not yours, maybe you paid off a debt, but in the meantime that company sold it to someone else, didn't bother to send the payment over to them, still showing on there. We can help you dispute those things. And a lot of the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, the 3 reporting agencies, they all have the ability, you can go online and dispute online for free. We also offer, if you have an item that's not yours, we can send you a kind of a form letter for a dispute letter that you can send in and say, hey, this isn't mine. What happens in that process is that goes to the reporting agency. They go back to that to that lender, and then they have 30 days to say, yes, here's proof that it is theirs, and If they can't do that, if it's been sold on down, something like that, then it comes off your credit. Now they may come back and say, oh yeah, here's the bill, that's all we care about, so you prove that you paid it. So if you do pay on debt, make sure that you are keeping copies, like if you send a check, if you got a money order, whatever, keep copies, keep any correspondence. Also, when you are settling debt, make sure that you get something in writing from that organization before you pay them money. Because you may have a great phone call conversation and they're like, yeah, you send me 25% and we will wipe this off your credit. And you're like, I'm sending the check today. And you send the check and they're like, hey, you still owe us 75% of your bill. And you're like, no, we made a deal. And they're like, I don't know, you were talking to a different operator. I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing in your file. And it happens all the time. Okay. It covers that one. So when you are working on cleaning up that debt, and I will tell you, I don't know how many entrepreneurs are in the room, but if you're an entrepreneur in this room, or if you have debt that is on there that is over 5 years old, I'm going to tell you to leave that debt on your credit. I don't want to encourage people to take out money that they don't pay back, but if you're trying to build a business, you need to be putting your money into your business. And that old debt will fall off in a couple years. If you're trying to buy a house, then your mortgage lender is going to want you to pay it all off. It's a different type of lending, and they look at it differently, so you got to pay it all off. But when you're ready to pay it off, use your tax return, save up some money. Because here's what happens when I have a $400 medical bill on my credit, and I say, I will pay you $50 a month. It's already hit my credit. This is an important distinction. If the hospital calls you and you have a $400 bill and you say, let's set up a payment plan, it's not on your credit yet, definitely do that. Do anything you can to keep it from going on your credit report. But if it's already on your credit report and they say, hey, let's set up a payment plan, what happens? Remember the asteroid? Every time you make a payment, you restart your 7-year time clock, 1. So it's that much longer. 2, you've now scratched off the top of this asteroid, and now it's got lava and stuff going everywhere, and it's affecting your credit score in a negative way again. So if you only call them and say, I have 60% of what I owe you, will you accept that as a settlement? You get that in writing, you send them that, and then your credit report may reflect settled for a lesser amount, but still a zero balance is what hits the algorithm. So if there's a zero balance, that's a good thing for you. You don't have that debt is still not there. Even with it showing that you settled for a lesser amount is still better. Most will settle for around 50%. There are some exceptions to that. If you have a federal tax lien, the government doesn't settle. You had an SBA loan, we don't play. We want it all. You took it from us, we want it back. We'll keep taking your tax return until we get it all back. Student loans, they don't settle, they don't play. And child support, that's a big ticket one. Child support, if you have delinquent child support on your, and a lender sees that you can't get any type, no SBA lending, no USDA lending, you do not get to be in the game. So those are some things, but about everything else, they will allow you to settle on, because most folks are just wanting to get some dollars back on that. I think we have covered most of these, maintaining those long-term relationships, 3 lines of credit. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Yeah.
You said there was a way to build credit with a credit building loan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know any that you recommend?
We offer one through NewGrowth Capital that we can do here. We offer that at, is it 0 or 1% interest?
I think it's 1%.
It's a 1% interest, and then it's a $500 loan. It creates 2 lines, and yeah, it's free except for the 1% interest. So, yeah.
How do you dispute an address? So, like on my credit report, there's an address of Maryland. I've never lived in Maryland.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's not hurting you, and
Okay.
it's not again, human error.
Okay.
Somebody's put you in somewhere as Maryland.
Okay.
Now, if you have items showing up that are tied to that Maryland address that aren't yours, that are negative, then I would dispute those.
Okay.
Anything else? You guys are quiet. I will tell you that the credit building, once you get it going, it becomes a lot easier. And we've our parent organization is West Central Community Action. They work with people, low income families, and we have been really, really happy watching the results, because a lot of times things happen in our life that we don't feel like we have a lot of control of. Credit has been that way for a lot of people for a long time. Like, I'm just stuck with this score and it haunts me, and I can't get the services I need, and I can't get the things I want in life because of this crazy score that I don't even know how I got. And I have misinformation, you know. I think it's because of, you know, I had too many inquiries, or something that happened 15 years ago. But once we have watched folks be able to move their score so much in such a short amount of time, it's been really rewarding for us as staff, because they get super excited, and they're like, if I can move my credit score, I can buy a house, I can start a business, I can go back to school. So we really love doing this work. It's really rewarding for us as well. So. Are there any other questions?
I do.
Sure.
A couple of slides back, one of the bullet points was if debt has been written off, then don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a negative ping on your credit report?
If it's been written off,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on the age.
It depends on the age. Okay.
Yeah. So if it is older debt, though,
Mm-hmm.
like after 7 years, if you see on your credit report debt that's been on there and it's over the 7 years, and I will say this doesn't happen very often because the credit bureaus are pretty diligent in wiping them. But if you do see one and it's on there for more than 7 years, then you can call. That's an easy one to get taken off.
Okay. Just because of the age of it.
Yes.
If it's over 7 years, get that off my credit report.
Right.
Okay.
And like some things that don't work that way, like I mentioned, the federal debt, the state debt, child support, and then if you had a bankruptcy, that's going to show, but it will show like dismissed, discharged, and typically now, I mean, I love making loans to people that have filed bankruptcy, and I know that sounds crazy, but they can't file bankruptcy for another 7 years. So I know that my 5-year term note is solid because they can't brush me off for that amount of time. But typically I encourage people to start rebuilding their credit. If you get dismissed on day 1, on day 2, you need to be looking for a secured card and building that credit back. Because some lenders now, especially like community banks and that, they will potentially do loans to someone with a bankruptcy as quick as 12 months. Mm-hmm. So it's not a death sentence anymore.